Hi YouTube, this is part 2 of a video I made I think 7 months ago saying why most white Americans don't like talking about racial issues. This time I have my cousin with me and we're going to be basically explaining our side on each of I guess major issues, but basically comparing and contrasting living in white America and living in black America. Of course it's America, but you know, different races do
And different sides
have different experiences. I mean, sure, there are some white people who are treated almost like the black community if you're on the poor end, and there are some black people who are treated more like white people if they're on the higher end of the scale money-wise. Goes to show money talks, but we're talking about regular people, just straight up regular Americans. It don't matter, well, in this case it does, about what we're talking about. So
everyday experiences, black America versus white America, everyday reactions to everyday situations. Real rap inside view.
since you have you deal with the more negative side, I'll let you lead in first, and then I'll give my thoughts on how I deal with the situation, how I feel in those situations.
Well, being black in America isn't always negative. It's a lot of cool pluses, but like, it is like some major differences. For starters, I'll just knock out the elephant in the room. What goes through your head when you get pulled over by the cops, or when you like see a cop on the side of the road or anything?
Getting pulled over, I have no reaction because that has yet to happen to me. But if I see a cop on the side of the road, I don't really think much of it. I mean, I've had interactions with police. I'm not really afraid of them or stressed out about them. When I see a cop, or if I'm dealing with a cop, it becomes mostly a nuisance almost, or that's how I feel about it. I'm like, okay, let's do what you need to do and then please leave. I don't believe in ACAB. I don't believe all cops are bastards, mostly due to the interactions I've had with police where I live now compared to where I used to live, because I really don't like the police where I used to live over how they handled my mother's situation and how she died. But the police here, they're a lot more understanding. They were a lot more better to talk to about situations. So when I see a cop, I don't necessarily get stressed out or become afraid or wonder, okay, something might go wrong. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut unless you talk to me, and then I'll be on my way. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's valid. I don't talk to cops. What's your name? I don't talk to cops. Sorry, I don't answer questions. Not when my lawyer present. But whenever I see a cop on the side of the road, even if they just got somebody pulled over, even if they lights not on, don't matter. Go under the speed limit, at least like 2 miles per hour, cause like I done seen too many videos, people that look just like me, and they get their life taken away for driving too fast, or because their blinker was out, and ends up in them ultimately dying or like fighting for their life. And I don't know, I just think there's a lot that can go wrong. Now, I'm not gonna say that all cops are bastards or ACAB. I don't like cops. Am I allowed to cuss in this video?
Yeah.
Fuck 12. Fuck pigs. I'm not rocking with the cops. But like, I guess some of them, they are just doing their job. But at the end of the day, it is just a job. You can quit. You can retire. You wake up every morning, put them boots on, put on your badge. I wake up every morning, I don't gotta do nothing, that's just how I look. I mean, I don't really have any personal beef with the cops, but even the cops around here, like, I've been pulled over once, and it was my fault. I only had on my hazards instead of my full lights. But just in the Dauphin County prison, it was just a young black teen who was taken into custody, and before he even got to the jail, where the other prisoners were staying, he was dead. So something between them sending him to jail and arresting him and taking him to jail, in between him going to his cell, he died. Like, I don't know. I just believe that a total investigation needs to happen. I think that police reform needs to happen. Maybe not fire all the police, but I mean, a lot of them can get fired. And another big thing is investigations, because after this has been going on for years, after Rodney King, after, I'm not even going to name examples because I don't got time for that, but after anything happens with an officer or a law enforcement, county officials, they will launch an investigation. But you can't investigate your own unit. Like, if you did something, I hope they won't ask me to do it, because I'm gonna lie for you every time. Every time he ain't do shit. And they back the blue. They got a blue code. They back each other up. So how are you gonna expect somebody to rat on their coworker when you was just at their house for dinner last week? Like, no one's gonna do that. So, yeah, at least had the FBI come investigate. But FBI doesn't play for the right side either. We can dive deep into COINTELPRO. Okay, it's your turn.
One topic I do want to bring up is something my friend brought up to me. It's called white guilt. Have you ever heard of white guilt?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have too. My opinion on white guilt.
Yeah, I'm about to, you keep doing that. I'm gonna give the definition for it.
Or white guilt, my friend told me, he said white guilt is feeling guilty for being white. If that is the definition of white guilt, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not have white guilt. I don't feel guilty that I'm white. I don't wish for everyone else to be white, because that's not the world we should live in. We should live in a fair and equal world where it doesn't matter based off of your skin tone.
Here, bro. Or continue. I'll let you know after this.
No, you could tell the definition in case it.
So it's not it's not feeling guilty for being white, but according to dictionary.com, the definition of white guilt is the feelings of shame and remorse some white people experience when they recognize the legacy of racism and racial injustice and perceive the ways they have benefited from it. And I think that's deep. That's a deep kind of definition, because I just read something that said the reason that America has never learned from its history is because it was never taught its real history. And I think that's kind of real.
When it comes to that definition, do I feel guilty for being white? Again, based off of that, no, because my skin tone, even though it matters, it shouldn't matter. Not everyone should be white. Not everyone should be Chinese, black,
completely racist.
Indian. It doesn't matter. You should be whatever you are.
Yeah.
You're born with what you are. You're white. You can respect your heritage to an extent. You can respect certain elements as long as you don't embrace the bad history that does need to be taught in full. I mean, yes, I was a kid. He was a kid. But when we were like 4 or 5, slavery is mostly glossed over. This was even before big social issues happened. It was glossed over, really. So when it comes to white guilt, I don't feel guilty for being white, but I understand and I sympathize with the black community, because what happened to them was wrong. It was inherently wrong. There's no justification for it. You cannot defend slavery, and I know some people like to bring up, well, the Africans were selling their own people. Yeah, I understand that. That's also immoral, but
I can go very deep into that. Not very deep, but I'll go kind of deep.
But my opinion on that is, they were selling their own people. That's bad. But I just think it's worse if you're enslaving a different race compared to enslaving your own race. Both of them are wrong, but I just think enslaving a different race, it's worse, because they're not your own people. So you could see them as objects. You have nothing to grasp onto to say they can be just like me, and That's something that I always felt. So at the end of the day, I don't feel guilty for being white. I don't wish for others to be white. I wish for people to be born who they are and to be treated as equals. But I do sympathize with the black community because what happened to them was wrong and you cannot defend it. I'm sorry, there's no way you can defend anything that has happened to them unfairly. If a black person commits a crime and they're fully 100% guilty, they could face the law, but they shouldn't be they shouldn't have prejudice towards them in the courtroom based off their skin color. Try them legally through the legal system, treat them like any other race, and you're good. You know, it doesn't matter if you commit the crime, just pay the price.
Yeah, like I'm gonna just step back, and you touched on a few points that I liked. So we all know that Americans weren't the first people to enslave people. That's true. Slavery's been around for thousands of years. We can go back to the ancient Greeks and Spartans. Sparta, they wouldn't enslave their people, but anyone that they would conquer in battle, they would enslave them. Cause like, what are you supposed to do with all the people that you just conquered in battle? You take their land, take the house, and take them. In Africa, it's a very large continent, many countries. I think it's 52, and a lot of warfare going on. People battling over resources. Yeah, actually, most of the resources were taken out strategically and separated during the Berlin Conference. But I'm not even gonna get into that because battle of resources, food, land. But after the tribe would, go to war, they bring the prisoners home. Now it does happen that they look like them, but that wasn't even their people. And it's documented that African people treated their slaves like an extended family member, maybe like an aunt or a cousin, and they were they lived in the same house. Excuse me, I just ate. They were treated nicely. Now, what makes American chattel slavery different is one, it was created strictly on race. Race is a made-up construct. And they made up the construct of race as a device to prove and to justify their actions of enslaving other races. Well, we can keep the Negro in chains because his head is bigger in the back, so his brain must not be big enough. Or, I'm pretty sure that a few of y'all are familiar with the movie Django. I think his name is Big Daddy in the movie. He played in The Wolf of Wall Street, if I can think of his name. DiCaprio?
Oh, Calvin Candy.
Yeah, DiCaprio. He goes to show Jamie Foxx. He says, if you look inside this part of the brain, Negroes have this thing for submission. So if you break open your skull, you'll have it. And break open mine, I won't. Like, the lengths that these people tried to go through to justify the horrors and atrocities. But let me go back just a little bit further, and then I'll get back to that. When the African was selling his people, he wasn't selling his people. He wasn't selling his cousin. No, he was selling someone from the opposite tribe that was trying to kill him, that was trying to take his land, and they conquered. So, yeah, you wouldn't think much of that. That's a prisoner of war. Prisoners of war everywhere. But then, go to America, get back to the coastline, is different. It's not like no slavery that no African has ever known before. They were thinking, oh yeah, I'll trade you a slave for some weapons. But like, it was a lot worse. It was a lot worse. They would take them home. Y'all know how the transatlantic slave trade went. I don't even have to get into that. It was disgusting. And just to think that people actually survived that, laying in shelves on each other, pissing and shitting and throwing up all over each other, from Africa to the South America to the Caribbean, on a boat with no engine, and they survived that, like, that's crazy. And then they get back to the new land to be sold. And then if you have any family, you know anybody that even speaks your language in this area, then everybody, they look like you, they don't speak the same language. They look like you, but they're from 2 countries over. It don't matter. They look like you, but you never met in your life, you'll all get treated the same way. Racism made a construct. And I think I went back on myself too many times trying to explain too many different points. But they weren't really selling their family. In America, they would sell your family. They would rip daughters away from mothers, kids away, make them nurse the slave masters' babies. They would sell sons and daughters, mothers, fathers, wives, husbands, because, you know, that stuff didn't matter. They were just 3/5 of a man. But I think that's all I have to say on that one.
Yeah, I figured I'd touch on that subject after it was brought up to my attention. I figured that'd be something, and now we can get back to current American issues. So I'll let you lead with more issues that you've faced, and then I'll give my 2 cents on how I feel about them.
I feel like most of our current American issues stemmed from and rooted from all the issues that people are afraid to talk about, and people get uncomfortable when stuff like this is brought up, and people usually like to focus on the symptoms or what's happening, but no one ever really wants to focus on the cause or like the real problem. You feel me? What do you think a problem of today is?
The problem of today is people, well, you brought it up, people are afraid to talk about the past.
Yeah.
And
Like Texas just passed that bill. You can't teach critical race theory. You can't teach that the KKK is bad. Texas, I don't know what they're teaching them kids down there, but it's down bad. And I saw this one thing that Texas had in a library. They got books about little boys sucking dick, sucking old man dick in their school library. So like, Texas on some shit. Y'all need to do better.
like you have to teach everything in full, everything that happened. You have to teach it. You have to talk about it. And if we don't talk about it, people are going to find excuses for reasons as to why, you know, they believe something isn't true. We need to show it in full, and
Right.
that's basically the end of the conversation. You need to talk about it. You can't just cherry pick. You got to talk about it all. Sure, it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable, but to an extent, the conversation has stopped being uncomfortable for me because I've talked about it so many times and I have my opinion on it. The conversation shouldn't be uncomfortable. Yeah, my race made a problem. They fucked up, and I feel bad for the black community, the African Americans, because what they went through is wrong. Like, I'm sorry for them. They have my full sympathy, and I'll help any way I can. And but me personally, I have no reason to personally feel responsible for it because I wasn't alive during that time. But I will take accountability and apologize on behalf of my ancestors that may or may not have caused that, because my ancestors were from Europe, so I don't know if my ancestors were directly involved in that, because my ancestors come from Native Americans and Europe, so I don't know, but
Native people got it rough.
like I feel for them, and you know, I'm sorry for them, and they deserve to be heard, and their stories, they need to be taught in school, or it's gonna get repeated some way down the line. Something's gonna go very wrong, and history's going to repeat itself.
Because those who don't learn from history are bound to repeat it, and that's real, bro. Like, that's real. That you take accountability. No one is asking for white people to feel bad that they're white, or for your sympathy. We're asking for y'all to be aware and recognize and really see what's like going on, because a lot of people are oblivious to it, and I can't even be mad at them, because ignorance really is bliss. If you don't look at it act like it's not there, then you know you can act like it's not there. But some people can't choose to ignore it. Some people need to go through it, and you really just talk about it. Cause like you can learn a lot from just talking. And yeah, we don't need sympathy. We need people to realize, and we need people to make other people realize, to spread the word, to do something about it. Cause you know, yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And
Disgusting.
what we have to live in.
And now we just live in the aftermath. I personally think America's too far gone. I mean, maybe not, but it's close. America's, yeah. But it was never ever built for people like me to win. We weren't included in the Constitution when the Constitution was written, you know. It wasn't like people were trying to look out for us or anything. You know, we were just never meant to win in this country. We had to fight. People be like, oh, well, we freed y'all. We gave y'all the right to vote. I know we fought for that too. That's only 50 years ago. When my grandma was born, black people couldn't vote. But, you know,
Yeah, it's a sad truth, and it requires massive change. I'm someone who believes that, you know, we're still capable of making that change, and time is going to tell. We're
gonna make that change. We need to do something soon, cause
we just need to. Something needs to happen, you know.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you've seen, but how Biden, the administration, all of them, this kind of different. But however they were handling the mandate or something, I just seen in the news that BLM protesters and Trump supporters are getting together now and hitting the streets together to go march against Biden. So I mean, like, they keep pushing it, and something's gonna happen. People will unite one way or another. What was that, big dog?
I mean, I guess that's a plus if they're uniting, but yeah, it's an unfortunate truth. And are there any more issues you'd like to bring up, or do you think we covered what?
Well, we could do the school to prison pipeline. I think that's a real big issue. How schools don't really teach us to really use our brains properly or challenge our minds, but it's like based on fear, basically. Do this or you'll be written up. Do this or you'll be kicked out of the class. Do this or you'll be suspended. And it's really like the same way how our life is written up. Do this or you will go to jail. Do this or you will have a court date here. And like, I think I'm gonna need more time to research that topic so I don't get on here and embarrass myself, and we can talk about that one next video. But prisoners, you talked about just people sitting on death row. No, let me see. I'm about to just say stuff. I don't even want to make myself sound stupid in front of all your viewers. So.
Alright, well, this is part 2. There will probably be a part 3. I don't see a reason why there wouldn't be once we have more opinions or if we figure out more stuff to talk about. But this is part 2. We're filming this on October 1st.
Yeah, if y'all want to hear us, if y'all got anything that you want to hear us talk about, leave it in the comments.
I'm assuming I'm going to upload this tonight. I don't see a reason why it won't be. I'll be busy for a good bit of the afternoon, but tonight I will most likely upload this. If not, it'll be up tomorrow. So, yeah, like you said, if you have anything you want to add, put it in the comments, or if you have something you want us to talk about, put it in the comments, and, part 3, we'll talk about it there. But yeah, that's about it for this video.